Well, g'day there, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining me in this pre-market address as we move into Wednesday's session worth of trade. Understanding, of course, that we really only have one more day following that being Friday. We have the Thanksgiving public holiday in the United States when the markets will be closed. Now, having said that, I do want to point out some potentially interesting technical signals, or a technical signal at least, that has set up as at the close on Tuesday. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out during Wednesday's session, but I do have a hunch that we are towards the end of this intermediate correction. I'm going to explain why that is. We are going to have to become a little bit, I guess, flexible or creative in the analysis, but really this signal that has set up today offers at least market participants to really change that of what has been a relatively bearish period for the markets. And again, understanding that sentiment is obviously going to shift really to extreme sort of sentiments of bearishness as we come on back down and retest these critical areas of support. Now, having said that, I'm going to go into some of the setups that we did see happen during yesterday's session. The big piece of technical news is the simple fact that we gapped down between Monday's session here and, of course, Tuesday, what occurred yesterday. Now, on face value, if this only happened on one market, it wouldn't be such of a technical signal. However, we follow, of course, not only the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but also the S&P and also the NASDAQ. So pay attention to this. We've got the open window to the downside that is technically bearish on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. If I bring it up for you also on the S&P 500, you can see that we have slightly less of a gap to the downside. However, if I use my little drawing tool here, you can see that there is evidently that of an open window as well. We do have that of a spinning top candlestick, which again reflects short-term indecision after the original gap down on Tuesday. Again, you can see the same, or at least a very close sort of relative to that candlestick on the S&P here on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And if I move into the NASDAQ as well, have a look at this candlestick. Yes, we closed down very close to 120 points. We did see, of course, again, another gap. It isn't as large, given, of course, the upper wick that we established intra-session on Tuesday, but we did gap down considerably. And really, if you pay attention to this, we closed on Tuesday at 6,908, and our target on the NASDAQ has been 6,910. So really, we are within 1.12 points on the NASDAQ, really where we closed that on Tuesday, which is interesting in and of itself. Now, again, when you blend support and resistance, also macro support in conjunction with a sell-off that we have been expecting and anticipating and also trading on the downward side, and when you start to see some parallels with a lot of these major tech companies, I'll just name a few. Apple, okay, coming back down into very important support over here. We've been talking about Amazon coming down to 1,500, which it has done as at Tuesday. We closed at 1,495. We've got Google as well, which has come back down and tagged our 1,000 area on the chart. It's a little hard to see at the moment. Let me just get this into perspective for you. You can see $1,000 over here as well. All of these pivots, not only macro support areas, if you go back really earlier into 2018, but they're also psychological round numbers. And when you start to see the parallels between the markets themselves, all right, potentially setting up what we could potentially assume to be exhaustion gaps to the downside, mixed with a bunch of these companies more or less having run or very close to having run sort of this bearishness that has been in the market for the period, or really since October, it makes sense, and this is really the crux of the pre-market update as we move into Wednesday's session. Let me give you a little bit of a hypothetical what if. Imagine if we come into session on Wednesday and we see the markets, all right, more or less just take off to the upside and they print a very healthy white day Morobozu candlestick. Again, pure speculation at this point. But if we were to see something like this, a white candlestick really negating this gap down, a very bearish gap down, mind you, having said that, it's really going to change the dynamic of, well, this could be that of a continuation to the downside into, well, this could be complete exhaustion on the side of the sellers. So I wanted to make that point as we move into Wednesday. Now is not the time, coincidentally, to be bearish on the market. We have been constructively moving bullish. Although we don't have any open positions yet, we've been talking about bringing down bullish entries, not only on the market indices. You can see here 7340. Dow Jones is at 25,567, looking to bring all of these triggers down. The S&P 500 bringing it down But before we can do such a thing, again, work with me, a little bit of creativity or at least forward-looking analysis here. If we were to see a nice white day candlestick on Wednesday, which closes the open windows at the moment across the board for the 3 US markets, and we start to see really these critical support areas continue to hold, or at least hold and see a very strong bounce off from, which is what we've been expecting. Again, a very nice bullish candlestick on Amazon on Tuesday's session. We came on and we actually closed the open window. Have a look at the candlestick on Boeing Airlines, right off from, again, the psychological round number of $300 per share, a long white day Morobozu candlestick itself. Baidu more or less holding up unchanged. It did gap to the downside, but we do have a Dojin, again, looking to bring down these entries a little bit lower in due course. Caterpillar, probably a little bit further to go with that particular stock, a little bit of an outlier there. We've got COP coming back down into our green rectangular box. Still no trade triggered on that particular stock. But I think you're really starting to see what I am beginning to explain to you. Google, as I've referenced, back down at $1,000 per share. A nice little bullish candlestick. This could have really been quite an ugly day of trade on Tuesday. It didn't turn out that way, which is good, and it's laying the foundation for what I assume is going to be that support area, or the support area that we've been speaking about, and something that we can really firm up off of, okay, and really continue the macro bullish trend higher. Netflix closed the window that we established on Tuesday, looking quite good, closing at 266.98. Again, I cannot stress enough, still not a single position entered into. However, all right, again, if we start to see this window closed mixed with a pretty decent daily volume print as well, this could be it. Also, what I spoke about over the weekend was allowing these oscillators to reset, to come back down closer to oversold territory, right? Along with the MACD and the RSI hitting oversold conditions, okay, which may coincidentally set up either a relative low or if not a slight higher low. That's exactly what's happening at the moment. So this is all following the script very nicely. If I show you it on the S&P 500 again, you see the similarities. MACD turning negative, RSI oversold, stochastics pushing further below at least the 50 point as well, which is very constructive too. And the stochastics on the NASDAQ is very close already to oversold. The RSI is registering oversold. And what you need to pay attention to, okay, I'm going to show you this right now, is divergent on the MACD for the NASDAQ as well. You've got the cross here, you've got a higher cross at the moment. If we do see definitive reversal here, this is going to help establish that of the reversal and ultimately opening up those risk and reward ratios. All right, that's the most important part of the analysis, risk reward, and if this support area holds. At the moment, however, the ADX is still turning up, which does indicate that this sort of sell-off does have legs. But again, if we see these candlesticks set up during Wednesday's session, all right, things can change very, very quickly. And I believe there is a very high probability that we are going to see something like this set up very, very soon, which is going to, again, add, I guess, some further confidence in the potential of this being an exhaustion gap to the downside, right, of supply of selling pressure, which is going to ultimately lead to the flooding of this market with a bunch of dip buying. All right, that's really the story at this particular moment. So I hope you reach this. If you're watching this during the day on Wednesday, it's fine. Even if you're looking at this after market close on Wednesday, it's still going to be valid. All right. If you have any questions, email me, success@pivotpoint-trading.com. Otherwise, jump into the pro class and have a look in further detail what it was we spoke about over the weekend and what it is we speak about moving into, right, or forward-looking analysis for each and every week. All the best, everyone. James signing off on behalf of Pivot Point Trading. All the best. Farewell.